Previously on The Greatest Estate Developer, our hero shattered the corrupt system, survived a sky-high demolition, and exposed a hidden empire. The enemy strikes back, the city trembles, and now the story continues. Funds vanish 3 times, and the kingdom teeters on the brink. Javier drops to one knee before the Empress, gratitude dripping from his voice as he credits her sharp judgment for barely rescuing their estate. He slides a sealed white cavalry dispatch across the table, its ink warning of a storm of refugees marching toward Frontera. The Empress listens, her gaze steady, oblivious to the looming tide of displaced families.
We barely saved the estate, Your Majesty.
Now Javier braces for the flood of refugees storming the border. Javier delivers grim news. Refugees from 17 shattered estates wander exposed, their homes reduced to ash, and they now stream toward Frontera barony. Javier claims the towers will become ironclad bastions. He warns that if the dreaded monster Domino reawakens or the Eastern armies surge, the structures will lock together, forging an unbreakable wall that guards the kingdom's peace. He adds that every ally who funds the project will gain a firmer foothold in the realm's power hierarchy.
Buildings become fortresses, shielding kingdom from monster Domino or Eastern attack. All who back this plan will rise in kingdom.
He then crunches the numbers, envisioning a commercial hub that could eclipse CREMO itself. Javier declares the fortress city has no downside. He projects the complex will blossom into a bustling commercial district, rivaling CREMO's sprawling markets. Suho distributes warm blankets to the elderly and children, demanding that the troops receive equal comfort. He urges the crowd to accept the aid and keep marching forward. The generous act wins goodwill, calming the restless refugees and staving off panic in the camp. Tensions soon flare as a dispute over break times erupts. Javier snarls at a laborer who skipped the scheduled break, reminding him he's been toiling since sunrise. He threatens to strip the worker of his spot if he refuses to obey the timetable. Strictly enforcing the break rule keeps the project on schedule and wards off costly delays. Tension spikes as Javier demands the missing permit document. Javier watches the orc swing his axe, but the massive hamster barrels through, slamming the weapon to the ground with a thud. Javier blinks, muttering a startled exclamation. The chaos erupts, ripping a hole in the enemy line. The hamster's charge reshapes the battle in an instant.
Oh.
A sudden clang startles Lloyd. He lifts his head to find a stranger at the doorway. Sir Byron bursts in, shouting for attention. "Are you awake, Lloyd? Are you all right?" he demands. Lloyd blinks, bewildered by the unexpected intrusion. The household's tension spikes, everyone holding their breath, wondering why the guest arrives now.
Master Lloyd. Are you awake? Sir Byron.
Javier bolts to the scene, eyes widening at Lloyd's limp body. The crowd clusters, murmuring about the noble's sudden collapse. The rumor spreads like wildfire, further shaking the already fragile worker morale.
Javier.
A sack of glinting gold slams onto the council table, the long-awaited grant exploding into the room. The sudden influx rescues the barony's shattered finances just as Lloyd collapses, sparking a frantic scramble among officials to claim the newly available land for the fortress project. Javier and the laborers feel hope surge as the 3 million coin grant finally restores their wages. But a lingering dread shadows them. Lloyd's frail health threatens to shatter the fragile morale they have just managed to salvage. The nobles stare, poised for the next political maneuver, while the barony's future teeters on the edge of a war-driven construction race that could drown the fledgling fortress in blood and stone. Understanding the world makes the fights hit harder. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The honey apartment teeters. The kingdom's hope rests on a crumbling wall. Han Jun surveys the half-built tower, chalk dust coating his boots. The scaffold shows honey apartment, percent complete. Hang in there, everyone, on a painted banner. Workers pause, sweat dripping, eyes glued to the progress meter. Han Jun raises his hand, urging the crew to keep the pace despite the looming deadline. The crew nods, hammering concrete, pouring mortar, feeling the weight of the kingdom's demand. Every brick laid is a promise to rescue his indebted family. The tower sways slightly in the wind, hinting at instability. The scene sets the race against time as the project threatens to fail.
An elven guardian steps from the shadows, raising a staff. He whispers Sinush, a binding rune. The ground trembles as a glowing meteor descends toward the sap sample. Hanjun gasps, startled. The team backs away, clutching tools. The meteor glows hotter, casting eerie light over the clearing.
Sinush.
Meteor, wait a minute, what kind of test is this?
The meteor's impact could shatter the sap, forcing a desperate decision. The meteor strikes, sending a flash of light through the clearing. The sap absorbs the energy, turning molten gold. The giant hamster squeals, spinning in excitement. A deep voice laughs, shouting, "Wahahaha! This is so exciting! What a crazy wretch!"
A laborer finishes spreading the first layer and shouts, "Ha!" in relief. Hanjun turns, nods, and marks the spot where the layer ends. The foreman records the measurement in his notebook. Workers step back, giving the slab a quick visual inspection. The shout signals that the initial concrete pass is complete and the site can progress without delay. Maintaining pace keeps the schedule tight and avoids cost overruns. Soon the crew begins installing the steel framework. Hanjun calls the team together and says, "Ha!" as the rebar carts arrive. Workers unload bundles of steel rods and lay them in the wet concrete according to the grid plan. Hanjun pauses, frowning at the temperature readings from the simulation. Problem: higher floors lose heat. 8th floor almost none. All insulators fail, he reports, tapping the data screen. He points out that each additional level reduces steam temperature, leaving the topmost apartments frigid. The engineers test every material from stone wool to enchanted crystal, yet none maintain the required thermal resistance. This matters because without a viable insulator, the apartment cannot attract tenants, and the project risks financial collapse. The failure forces Hanjun to consider unconventional sources, hinting at the legendary LNSIA tree sap known for its unrivaled insulation. The team scrambles to source a miracle material before the construction deadline. The party has trekked 2 days through rough terrain. They set camp near the foothills and discuss the next leg. Hanjun outlines the plan. "We head to the Everglow Forest, where the elves keep the LNSIA trees. We'll extract the sap for our insulator." The team nods, aware the forest is guarded by elves.
We're heading to the elves' forest now.
An escort knight readies his horse for the dangerous trek. A teammate warns, "Elves despise humans. They won't negotiate." Another retorts, recalling Hanjun's past flirt with an elf that earned him the sap-coated armor. He suggests Hanjun go alone with a knight as escort, since the elves won't trust a group. Javier confronts the dragon, its fire licking his resin-hardened armor which holds. While the hot-blooded knight shouts he will slay the elf leader and steal the coveted Alencia sap. Hanjun risks losing the fragile piece he once bargained for, as his own past romance with an elf fades into betrayal, and the crew teeters between diplomatic hope and reckless bloodlust. The knight's murderous promise hangs over the camp, leaving the elves' response unknown, the sap's fate in jeopardy, and a looming war ready to ignite at any moment. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. That's it. Just do it. A single cursed sneeze can raise the Everglow Forest, crushing the developer's dream in an instant. Lloyd steps forward, the mossy floor soaking his boots, eyes scanning the phosphorescent canopy. Javier trails close, map of the elves' nerve pathways clutched tight, every line pulsing with latent energy. A low hum drifts through the trees, the forest's living network thrumming like a heartbeat. Both understand that one rogue sneeze could trigger a cascade, collapsing the entire arboreal web. They grip their tools tighter, plunge deeper, praying their silence will keep the forest's veins dormant. Lloyd feels his next breath tighten, the impending sneeze threatening to set off the alarm. Javier blinks, asking, "How did they realize we're here so quickly?" The surroundings noting the elves' swift response. The question underscores the forest's nervous system, capable of tracking intruders instantly. Their awareness threatens the duo's stealth plan. The trees pulse with hidden energy, echoing their movements. The elves close in, shadows sharpening.
How did they realize we're here so quickly?
The pressure mounts as the forest watches their every step. Lloyd erupts. Who the hell wouldn't realize after you made such a big fuss at the entrance? You idiot? Kai watches, then simply says, nope. The harsh rebuke highlights Javier's careless noise that alerted the elves. The group pushes forward into a denser part of the Everglow forest. Light filters through thick foliage, casting green shadows on the ground. Javier spots a narrow clearing and signals the others. Lloyd lowers himself from the tree, landing beside the ridge edge. The elves' footwork intensifies, their steps barely touching the moss. The party stays low, slipping between roots to avoid triggering the forest's nerve network. Every movement risks alerting the Swordmaster. Ahead, the path narrows toward the rumored Elencia tree. Lloyd notes the scarce information about the elves, but his gut says they're right about the forest's danger. Lloyd shouts a rallying cry, "Here I go!" as he charges forward. Javier follows, matching his pace, sprinting toward the massive trunk of the Elencia tree. The forest parts slightly, forming a narrow corridor. They reach the base, discovering ancient runes etched into the bark. The runes hint at a lock that matches the Elra 5 key they found. Unlocking it could grant safe passage beyond the elves' domain. Next, they attempt to fit the key into the rune-shaped lock. Lloyd flips a switch on the new energizer he just rigged. The device hums, a blue light spreading over his armor. He feels a surge of power, vowing he won't tire for the next 20 minutes. A brief hush falls over the clearing as the elves stare at Lloyd's device. One elf raises a trembling hand, eyes wide, whispering, "What's with that power? That human could kill us if he really wanted." The comment spreads like fire, causing nervous glances among the foliage. Lloyd tightens his grip on the contraption, aware his inventions now provoke fear. The elves' nerves spike, making the vines twitch erratically. Lloyd's next move could either calm the forest or ignite a full-scale assault. An elf steps forward, voice low, muttering, "While the humans might have a sword master," the half-sentence drifts into the night. Then another elf adds. Lloyd slams the hunter bow from the glowing Elencia tree as a dragon sniper arrow shatters against his humming shield, while vines writhe and elves stare, realizing his device could command the forest itself. Javier chokes on pollen, his eyes burning, while Lloyd feels the weight of triumph and terrifying responsibility, knowing one successful shot could end the elves' siege, but also unleash a power no human has mastered. The glowing Fuglyph pulses ominously on the stone. Elves' nerves flicker with dread, and the dragon sniper looms unseen, leaving the battlefield poised on a razor-thin line between salvation and annihilation. I read the raw chapters so you don't have to. Pay it forward and subscribe to Manwa with Hari. A single slash severs an elf, and the cry awakens a vengeful legion that shatters the orc ranks. Suho, trapped in Lloyd's body, swings hard, cleaving an elf stalker. The wounded elf screams, a howl rippling through Everglow forest. Hundreds of green-clad warriors surge forward, weapons glittering, moving as one. Their gazes lock onto Suho. He sees the forest turning into a war zone. Behind them, the orc patrol crumbles under the sudden onslaught. Suho's reckless strike threatens a continent-wide conflict. The elves close in while Suho darts deeper into the tangled woods. The elves chant a guttural ko, the sound booming through trunks. Suho feels the vibration, sees the front line of green-clad warriors surge forward. Suho bursts into a short, surprised laugh as the vine snaps back, holding the elves at bay for a heartbeat. The elf leader snarls, trying to slash through the vegetation, but the tangled mass slows their advance. Suho's quick thinking buys the group precious seconds to regroup near the clearing's edge. Strange symbols etched into the ground hint at a hidden trap. An elf steps forward, eyes blazing, and shouts a guttural warning that sounds like, "No." Suho answers with a terse hum, declaring his resolve to hold the line. Tension spikes as the elves brace to charge, and the Mandragora Nova pulses faster, ready to erupt. An elf on the fringe shouts a garbled boast about being popular with women. The cry echoes through the trees, adding chaos to the chase. The group hesitates, unsure whether the comment is warning or taunt. Their hesitation risks the elves closing in and the nova detonating. Suddenly, a piercing scream slices through the forest. The elf leader roars gore as a signal to attack. Suho shouts, "Move backwards, more," to keep the party together. The elves surge forward, spears glinting, while the nova's pulse grows louder. Each step backward buys precious time for the mandragora to stabilize. Failure would see the forest blaze and the team cut down. Suho feels a surge of adrenaline, insisting his stomach feels fine despite the chaos. He tells Mira to pull herself together, but she asks what to pull. A nearby companion, confused, shouts for clarification. The group hesitates, uncertain of the next move as the forest's danger still looms. Their disarray could cost them dearly if they don't act fast.
My insides feel fine. Pull yourself together. What's happening?
The elves close in, and the nova threatens to explode. Suho walks deeper into Everglow Forest, the canopy so dense that no birds sing. The understory finds no rabbits, no elk, no sign of wildlife. The oppressive silence presses in.
Mira steps forward, eyes wide, and raises a hand towards Suho. She whispers a warning, pleading for his safety as the forest trembles. She reminds him the elves will not tolerate any harm to the plants. Suho nods, feeling the weight of his mission to protect both the noble and the vegetation. Their exchange fuels his resolve to find a non-violent solution before the battle erupts.
Please be safe.
Suho, trapped in Lloyd's body, bolts toward the glowing forest's edge, leaping across a narrow stone bridge as a massive line of monsters retreats and a hidden pack of elves erupts from the shadows, their blades glinting in the dim light. His heart pounds with desperate hope, fearing starvation and the elves' wrath, while Myra's whispered warning pierces his confidence, forcing him to choose between his engineering pride and the fragile lives of his companions. Each breath a ticking clock. As the forest trembles and arrows hiss, Suho stands on the brink, unsure whether the hidden Master Lloyd will intervene before the elves unleash their full fury on the precious Everglow trees, the ancient roots shuddering under their rage.
He didn't just beat him, he humbled him. Subscribe to Manwa with Harry for the aftermath.
The city's skyline collapses, hunger gnawing at every throat. The developer strides onto the field, a blazing banner proclaiming, "Greatest estate developer." A whisper from the shadows mutters, "AF." His arrival tilts the battlefield, making foes second-guess their snare. Instantly, they give chase, desperate to close the breach. A commander bellows, "He slipped through our circle. Pursue him." Soldiers rush, fury blazing. The exhausted leader gasps, "We can't keep fighting. Hunger drives us, move." Morale sputters, the chase stalls. Starving elves watch, eyes hollow, as the pursuit drags. Malika steps forward, meat still steaming in her hands. She splits the piece, handing half to the starving troops. Hope flares as hunger eases.
The developer vows, "I will shield the Lord's son with my life." A veteran gasps, calling the enemy, a monster whose footwork took a century to master. All ripples through the ranks, heralding a terrifying new opponent.
I'll protect him.
He's a monster. 100-year footwork?
The troops now stare at a legend-born adversary. A desperate voice shouts, "More aid!" The battle grinds on. Malika bellows, "One final surge of arrows." The extra volley could shatter the enemy line before night falls.
A little more.
Give everything now.
The coming storm of bolts will determine the barony's fate. The front line endures. Enemy forces surge forward. Li Jae-hwan urges his companion to soften his speech, reminding that the elves scrutinize every word. He then asks if an extra scout may join their line. The companion nods, granting. Their swelling numbers will strain the elves' scarce rations. Li notices Malika huddled by the fire, skin gaunt from hunger. He calls her, "Come here, you look famished. Can you eat enough?" The elves watch, intrigued by the newcomer's appetite. Malika's answer will dictate the share of food.
Melika, come over here.
An aide distributes travel rations, warning that only scraps remain. Just a few bites fit the packs, he says. Even the scent of food tempts the archers.
An angry elf bellows. Make a deal? We never bargain with mere humans. The outburst rattles the Baron's son, who steps forward, clutching a sack of coal. Tension spikes as both sides weigh a trade of food for labor. Their next bargain will decide who builds the future. An elf chief lifts an eyebrow, reminding that prior agreements existed, yet humans fled after the last clash. Hungry, the elves resorted to stolen meat. He demands clarification on these agent deals. Suspicion sharpens, forcing humans to justify their terms.
What are you talking about? We already made deals. You went back, now you ask us for food.
The humans must now spell out their terms. Lee Jae-hwan asks Mira, "How does this joint plan sound for survival?" Mira snaps, accusing humans of endless deceit and refusing to consent. Tension spikes as trust teeters on her reply.
What do you think of this idea?
Never trust humans, they always lie.
The next move hinges on Myra's decision. Lee Jae-hwan shouts, "Mira!" hoping to pierce the chaos. His voice slices through the din, demanding her attention.
Mira.
Myra's silence will seal the trade's fate. Lee Jae-hwan recounts his life in Gap L, admitting humans' short spans breed greed, pleasure chasing, and occasional cruelty. He urges Mira to trust humans only if they can become true allies. Lee Jae-hwan faces a massive stone barrier, its glowing runes demanding an unknown power source. Myra's stubborn silence cracks the fragile human-elf truce. Mira begs for a modest monthly share of Elencia sap, fearing her children will starve. Lee Jae-hwan risks his reputation, revealing human greed. Both sides teeter on the brink of extinction. The stone barrier glows ominously, its power source still unknown. Myra's silence looms, and the battlefield's fate hangs on who dares awaken the magic.
The next chapter recap drops in days. Subscribe to Manwa with Harry before it goes live.
Once a penniless beggar, his towers now blot out the sun, and the government trembles. Suho Kim, a civil engineering student, drifts off while reading a fantasy novel. A haunting chant reverberates in his dream, a cold tug pulling him under. He awakens not in his dormitory, but in a stone chamber of a medieval manor. His body has morphed. He is Lloyd Frontera, a lazy noble who spends days drinking. The Frontera lineage drowns beneath crushing debt, and tax collectors mutter his name. Suho's engineering mind ignites within this new flesh. He grasps that only his knowledge can redesign the estate and escape ruin. Lloyd flips the ledgers and spots the first chance to rewrite their fate. A villager steps forward, pointing to a stray dog that survived a recent flood. He explains the charity funds that rescued the animal will now be redirected to the construction project. The crowd murmurs, some skeptical, but the tale of the filthy dog wins sympathy. Public goodwill will smooth the elves' agreement and secure extra labor for the towers.
Because the charity that the filthy dog received.
The crowd's mood shifts, priming the stage for the final tasting. The elves bite the beef, faces lighting up. One elf shouts, "Fare was so cursed delicious." Another points at Lloyd, declaring him a good person. Their approval cements the alliance, and the towers surge upward faster than ever. Kim Soho wonders who Master Lloyd truly is after seeing the new pact. He recalls Lloyd convincing the orc clans to supply stone for the towers, and now the elves agree to share their heat-resistant material. Kim Soho mutters Lloyd's reputation might even attract dragons if he keeps pushing. This speculation shows Lloyd's diplomatic skill expanding beyond ordinary borders, raising the stakes for the barony's projects. If Lloyd can truly unite orcs, elves, and perhaps dragons, the barony could secure unmatched resources and protection.
Who exactly is Master Lloyd? He previously convinced the orcs, and now the elves.
Kim Soho shouts, "Let's finish this quickly and eat beef." "Yes, Mama." The crew laughs, grabs the offered meat, and shares a hearty bite. The elves, impressed by the tribute, work at a frantic pace. Their magic-boosting stone placement and mortar setting. Construction rockets forward, exceeding expectations. The honey apartments near completion far ahead of schedule, their frames gleaming under the winter sun.
Let's finish this quickly and eat beef. Yes, Mama.
With the towers nearly done, the royal decree to elevate the barony looms. First snow drifts over the Frontera estate. Flakes land on the newly finished honey apartment towers. Lloyd watches the white cover settle on the roofs. Lloyd tells the crew to head to the Baron's manor because the winter construction still needs supervision. He mutters about the endless chores, feeling irritated. Sir Byron remarks that the Baron has acted this way since his personality altered, and that he no longer harbors dislike for him. This matters because Lloyd must secure the Baron's support to keep the project alive through winter.
We go to the Baron now. Winter work continues.
He's changed since his shift. I can't dislike him.
The Baron's reaction will determine their next political move. Sir Byron observes that the Baron has managed to make all nearby nobles and workers depend on his decisions.
Lloyd watches as the royal scribe stamps the proclamation, instantly upgrading the Frontera barony to a county, the seal blazing across the parchment. Lloyd feels triumph surge through him as newfound authority promises resources. Yet the looming responsibility to wield that power over nobles and workers threatens to crush his ambitions. A distant trumpet echoes, the royal messenger steps forward, and the crown's next decree looms, leaving Lloyd to wonder whether the promotion shields him or draws him into a deadly political storm.
We set the standard for Manhwa recaps on YouTube. Subscribe to Manwa with Harry and experience the difference.
The Empress puts the fate of the Empire on a single builder while monsters ravage the eastern lands. A sealed royal decree rushes toward Frontera, its wax imprint glowing with authority. It names Lee Junwoo, hailed as the greatest estate developer, the new Count of Frontera County. With the seal, it transfers control of the frontier's wild territories and its precious resources into his hands. Overnight, his political clout spikes, and the kingdom's desperate cry for a savior lands squarely on his shoulders. Javier lingers in the county office, eyes fixed on the empty desk, waiting for his first command. Courtiers flood the Frontera hall as the royal messenger unfurls the promotion scroll. A voice from the ranks shouts, "Shout louder!" So the Empress hears us. The crowd obeys, amplifying "Long live Her Majesty" into a thunderous wave that reaches the palace balcony. The Empress hears the devotion, reinforcing her decision to entrust Lee Junwoo with massive projects. The louder the chorus, the tighter the kingdom's unity becomes. Soon, the first walls will rise from the earth. A stern official steps forward, hand raised, and commands, "Silence! Do not break protocol." The crowd falters, some voices dimming. His warning prevents a breach of palace etiquette, preserving order and ensuring the Empress's decree proceeds smoothly. The restraint hints at underlying tension between the populace's zeal and the aristocracy's control. The Count draws his sword, its blade flashing in the courtyard. He lifts it aloft, a silent promise to defend the county. The gleam reminds laborers that danger still prowls from the east. The weapons display warns monster hordes that Frontera will not fall without a fight. He then turns his focus to the new construction plans that will reshape the frontier. A magical HUD flickers above the Count's wrist, displaying real-time data on the apartment project. The screen lists completed units, pending tasks, and resource consumption. The Count studies the numbers, confirming the first housing block is fully occupied. The HUD lets him allocate workers efficiently, avoiding waste. Villagers swarm Lloyd, chanting thanks. They promise to repay him for saving their lives, laughing and assuring everything is fine. One elder clutches Lloyd's hand, begging him to stay alive longer than they will. Their emotional vows cement a bond between the Count and the community. This loyalty will pressure Lloyd to protect them in future battles. The upcoming scene shows Lloyd planning the next reconstruction project. The crowd shouts, "We can do it!" while scribbling notes on the ground. Lloyd raises his hand, grins, and repeats the chant, "We can do it!" He thanks the villagers, calls them his friends, and promises the work is for everyone. Lloyd steps back, shaking his head. "I don't wish to live off others and do nothing but rely on goodwill. Please read the contract." The clerk flips the page, sighs, and replies, "It'll be harsh. Our county is quite capitalistic, you know?" The words confirm the agreement favors the administration, not the laborers. Lloyd realizes the contract may trap his family deeper in debt. The next question turns to gender rules. Murmurs ripple about who can sign the labor pact. A villager asks, can women sign the contract as well? We don't discriminate against genders here. Ha 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 ha. The clerk laughs, waving a hand. Villagers roar about unpaid debts as Sir Lloyd cries for a fair contract. Yet the clerk binds them to a brutal labor pact. Meanwhile, Bang Ul's reckless rush on the new site triggers a massive slab collapse, igniting panic among the workers. Lloyd's pride shatters when he refuses to live off charity. Bang Ul endures a broken arm that strips her of strength, and the villagers' hope flickers, fearing the contract will enslave their livelihoods as the shadow of oppression looms. With the terraced farmland project stalled, Bang Ul's injury halts the crew. The clerk's ominous terms loom, and a silent question hangs. Who will sign the pact and seal the village's fate? The future teeters on a fragile edge. Something major happens to this character very soon. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari before the spoilers find you. The Greatest Estate developer stalks his blueprint, the missing component nagging his thoughts. He concludes the only shortcut is the legendary gacha summon known as GHI, each pull draining precious RP. Scanning his RP ledger, he confirms a comfortable surplus and steels himself to wager the points. His mind races, picturing the summoned relic forging the perfect retaining wall. With a decisive click, he launches the gacha, praying the elusive Pacha will materialize. He slams the gacha activation button, and the console erupts in a blinding flash, promising a Pacha in exchange for RP. A roar of excitement bursts from his throat as he chants the summon's name. A cold sting of betrayal ripples as the system jeers at his aspirations. The developer hears a harsh voice berating his gambling tactics, branding him a fraud. The accusation ignites a blaze of fury. A mocking chuckle follows. TSK, the type that quickly agrees to the villain's logic. He grasps that the gacha is a trap for novices. The looming deadline squeezes tighter.
TSK, the type that quickly agrees to the villain's logic.
A new summon attempt ignites, demanding a heavier RP toll than ever before. The developer launches another gacha pull, typing summon creature gacha, start RP into the console. The RP bar plummets at a frantic pace as the system churns. The interface bursts into a grid titled Skills Available. The developer scrolls through the list. Each slot bears a skill name and a tiny icon, all tagged on the way. The system guarantees any selection will soon unlock, hoping one might rescue his crumbling project. The display sets the stage for a crucial decision. He soon realizes most entries are laughably useless. The developer taps the first skill, reading its absurd description: ability to lick, ability to sleep, ability to read your nose, alongside petty buffs like caffeine LV and meditation LV. He growls, "Why are there only useless skills?" The frivolous list magnifies his desperation.
With no functional tool, his retaining wall plan stalls. The developer brightens, dubbing the creature nice, and urging it to sweep the county skies. Sir Lloyd proclaims the summoned being now bears wings, transforming it into a soaring showcase. The airborne spider creature promises fresh advertising angles and accelerated silk production for the retaining wall. Their excitement signals a daring field test of the silk's strength.
Nice, let's go one round around the county.
It's Sir Lloyd. It's summoned creature that flies this time.
The developer now prepares to stress test the spider silk against the looming cliff. Sir Lloyd strides to the cliff's edge, his cape snapping in the wind. He lifts his gaze skyward, surveying the construction below.
Frustrated, the developer claws the spider creature's leg, growling, "Damn it, how do I get it to work?" He twists the harness, attempting to reactivate the spreading spiderweb's ability. The creature hisses, spewing silk faster, yet the mesh still refuses to lock. Time ticks as the project's budget burns, and crew morale wanes. His next move may force a perilous shortcut.
Damn it, how do I get it to work?
This looming decision could jeopardize the entire estate development.
Sir Lloyd releases the radiant spider creature, converting its luminous silk into a roaming billboard, while the developer frantically twists its harness, igniting a surge of spreading web that threatens to rip the entire construction site apart. The developer feels his pride shatter as the spider silk snaps, while Sir Lloyd watches his grand vision crumble, and the laborer's hopeful awe turns to panic, leaving the crew teetering between triumph and disaster. The developer clamps his fist onto the creature's trembling leg, demanding the spreading spiderweb's ability to reactivate. But the creature hisses ominously, its core pulsing erratically, hinting the web's power could explode at any moment.
The screen is fading. Hit subscribe on Manwa with Hari before it's gone. The demolition timer clicks. Delay means the whole neighborhood gets swallowed. The title blazes, The Greatest Estate Developer. A flickering data scene flashes last night's harvest surge and soaring construction points. A desperate shout cracks the air, demanding immediate action. A sharp cry rings, Dong! A call to forge a joy-driven mindset. Goming nods, vowing to give it a shot. The scene cuts to a tangled thicket where the crew huddles, eyes steeled for the next move.
Dong, create your mindset, bring happiness.
Well, I'll try it then.
With fire in his voice, Pong Dong rallies everyone into a single, unstoppable push. Pong Dong strides forward, demanding PPO Dong join a massive joint venture. Goming leaps forward, eyes blazing, hands clapping. He shouts, hungry for action. The crew spots his fire and hands him a crucial task. His zeal sparks a morale boost. The screen blazes, granting an RP bounty for seizing the continent's top civil engineer rank. PPO Dong pockets the points in an instant. The surge of RP powers his next building spree, catapulting his ascent. A fresh title flashes, unlocking broader influence. The RP meter spikes. A new badge, Leader of Those Who Retired, ignites on screen. PPO Dong claims it instantly. Its activation promises a multi-hour regional boost to all his ventures. The description teases an hour-long power surge. The title reads, applies to a chosen region for several hours, granting CP and extra effects. Active play can prolong the window. PPO Dong can wield the bonus to fast-track construction throughout the zone. A warning voice cautions PPO Dong. Smooth seas can mask hidden reefs. He must pause, audit the site, ensure all is truly sound. This vigilance averts silent collapse of his estate dreams. He eyes the imminent spring burst with wary precision. Heeding the warning, PPO Dong halts his crew. He steps back, scans the half-built slope, questioning its integrity. The pause thwarts a hidden flaw that could topple the project. He must certify the foundation before moving on.
I need to check if it's really okay.
Next, he must test the spiderweb mesh on the slope. A system dialog blinks, presenting choices. Spend construction points to preview the story's ending or resist. PPO Dong declares his purpose, calling rocks and a Kirin to shield the slope, channeling raw magic into his estate's foundation, while the construction points window tempts him to cheat for the story's ending. He senses his crew's morale teeter on a razor's edge, boosted by magic yet shadowed by a hidden flaw that could shatter everything, jeopardizing his hard-earned CP and legacy. A warning echo hangs as the unfinished slope yawns, its true stability uncertain. The lure to shortcut the ending looms, threatening disaster if the Kirin's guard falters. Fans from over 50 countries already wake up to Manhwa with Hari recaps. Subscribe and be part of it.
He built the kingdom skyline, but now his fortune hangs on one click. Lee Junwoo stares at a flashing pop-up asking if he wants to see his story's ending. The box warns, riches for the idle aren't free. He hits yes anyway. The system logs his choice, siphons hidden credits, and his balance slides toward overdraft. One gamble could launch him to fame or strip his capital forever. Red light blazes across the screen. He feels the debt his family left crushing his chest. The screen erupts with a neon banner. The greatest estate developer. The title blazes above a crest, and a blinking numeral marks his 6th flagship project.
A voice drifts from the courtyard. You love on and burn it. A nearby knight asks, burn what? The suggestion, raise the decaying manor to carve new tunnels. Suho weighs the cost of destroying heritage for progress. The choice will reshape the kingdom's landscape and sway his allies. A sudden shout from CR cuts the discussion short. Sir croaks, sir. Then a shocked figure gasps. I'm actually not. The correction reveals a presumed dead foe is alive. The revelation rattles the group, forcing a strategy rethink. A living enemy could sabotage the sewer project and reignite the cholera crisis. As night falls, the hidden adversary readies a countermove. The count strides into the courtyard's center, voice booming.
Suho guides the group through a freshly opened shaft. The giant hamster darts ahead, lugging a rolled-up map and a sack of stone. The knight walks beside Suho, tapping walls with his gauntlet to test stability. Heiyun follows, lantern light flickering on damp rock. They enter a wider cavern where the floor glitters with a dark sheen. Suho kneels, brushes dust aside, and points to a black liquid seeping from a crack. The knight signals the workers to halt, fearing contamination. The hamster drops the stone sack. The crew clusters around the mysterious fluid, whispering about its origin. The discovery forces a route rethink before digging further. A tense question about alternatives rises as they discuss Javier.
The group pauses, stunned by the tangled clue. Suho asks why the message is so cryptic. He feels the words swirl like tea leaves, forming patterns. A younger assistant shouts that they are already inside the cryptic message, as if the note predicts their actions. The assistant points to the burned corpse, now a charred statue, still speaking. Suho realizes Lloyd's warning may have been recorded before his death, creating a loop. The team debates whether the warning is a prophecy or a trap. Their fear rises as the epidemic worsens and the sewer tunnel looms ahead. Suho sketches a new sewer layout, avoiding the empty zone. He instructs the builders to reinforce the tunnel walls with stone.
Suho sketches a network of underground tunnels across the Viscounty. He admits he lacks medical expertise but insists that fighting illness does not require medicine alone. He explains that a sewage system will carry waste away, preventing disease transmission. This matters because sewers become the primary weapon against the cholera outbreak. Suho remembers the word empty from an earlier clue and links it to Vienna, Austria. He describes Vienna's rapid population boom during the industrial era and notes its lack of proper sewers at that time. This matters because the Vienna case shows how missing sanitation can fuel a health crisis. Suho explains that Viennese citizens dump urine and feces directly into the Danube River. Suho reveals a continent-spanning underground tunnel network, converting his fresh title into instant funding as he vows to stop the cholera wave threatening the Viscounty. Suho stakes his hard-earned credibility and his citizens' lives, gaining unprecedented authority while battling a deadly epidemic that could shatter his lifelong dream of a thriving estate. Yet the frozen river keeps piling toxic waste, and a shadowy curse looms, leaving the Viscounty's fate and Suho's grand vision hanging on a frigid, uncertain edge.
Giving you the best manhwa content is my job. Hitting that subscribe button is yours. Welcome to Manhwa with Harry.